Basically since Neanderthals, when we started, working with skins, bones, and sticks and stones, if you will, we've been augmenting the human. Right? We've been using tools to expand ourselves beyond the biologic capability. More so than any other species or any other thing in the evolution of time, we have utilized tools, right? That's why things that biologically far superior to us maybe don't exist anymore and we've been able to survive. So tools have been a key part of who we are. And ultimately, it's the ability to create or to extend beyond this that is integral to human evolution, right? So human evolution and tool evolution parallel each other. They move forward together. And so you kind of can say, all right, we've moved millions of years since the skins, tools, sticks, and bones. Now we have the Internet of Things, right? This is sort of the evolution today. All right, so there you go. There's a million years of evolution. I only have 5 minutes, so I had to make it quick. I had a lot more slides, but they wanted me to shorten it up. But there's one thing in that million years that hasn't changed, right? And that's how we utilize tools, how we view tools relative to ourselves. We still type on a keyboard. Tools are different than us, right? And so we have now even this duality of AI. We have these things where people talk about whether machines will overtake humans. We have this duality of concept. And what I'm introducing today, or what I want to introduce to you, is to change that paradigm, to think differently. We now have, through the use of neural technology, interface technology, we actually change that paradigm from tools and human in this duality to much more of a symbiotic integration. So I become or work directly with technology. Technology, and technology directly works with me. So rather than competing against each other, we can get to a truly integrated perspective of who we are together. And what that means is that we can kind of transform the world. So if we start to think about the fact that I could be a robotic system, I could actually be in a system, and if that system's connected to the net, I've now removed the physical barriers of space and time from who I am. And so ultimately the idea is, there was an old telephone ad that I saw that I liked, and the guy's in the car, big box phone in the car, and it says, home at 186,000 miles per second. It's a really interesting idea. I thought that was a brilliant ad. He got home in voice. But now imagine if you're connected, you can actually travel anywhere in the world, wherever that other system is, at 186,000 miles per second. That's a heck of a difference. I can reach around the world effectively. I mean, think what's happened from audio and video by bringing those to us. Imagine if I could be anywhere in time. And by the way, the nice thing is it's not just physical reality that we can transcend, it's just reality itself. Because of virtual reality, it can become a reality. We can make this work. And if I can store human experience and bring it back in, I can actually transcend time. So the idea that we can connect differently to humans changes the paradigm completely in what we can do. And in case you don't believe that it's possible, right, because that sounds cool, that's all hype, but this is reality here, right? So Cleveland is unique in that we have an unbelievable biomedical community where we've always been working at humans and technology. And the example of this and what I've worked on for the last 10 years is prosthetics. So before the work we've been doing where we directly connect to the nervous system, prostheses were a tool. They had no sensation, no connection to the human directly. What we've done is we've directly connected the prosthetics to the human nervous system. And so now when that prosthetic touches something, a tomato or an egg or whatever, our user feels that. And it's their hand that they feel. So think about this quote that our subject gave us. When I'm using the prosthesis without sensation, when I'm not connected, it's just a tool. It's on the end of his arm. It's like you or I with a grabber. Any other tool we use today. As soon as we turn on sensation, he says, it's my hand. That's transformative. Because that's a robot stuck on his arm, arbitrarily stuck there. I can put that thing anywhere in the world, and you know what it'll still feel like? His hand. He can now put his hand anywhere he needs it. Think if I'm welding on the bottom of the ocean, or if I'm trying to work out in space. I don't want to be there biologically. Oh, we'll take Fukushima. That's a good one. I don't want to go clean up. So biologics is a bad place for me, yet my intelligence, other people's intelligence, creativity needs to be there. So now we can put them there physically, we can move them anywhere, but take them, the essence of who you are, and connect it. That's transformative. And so now we get this idea where we can extend the human over the internet, over time, over space. We can connect not only people to machines, but people to people, and this is where the ethical considerations come in. We can connect people to art directly. Right? How powerful is a movie when you hear the sound, the booming, boom, boom, boom. That's what transforms us, is trying to create this response in us. But what if we can actually feel what the actor is feeling outside of the whole horror movie thing? I don't think I'd like that so well. But this is transformative in the sense that the person and the technology become a symbiotic union, not separate, but the same. And so that can turn us from this Internet of Things, where the human works with or interacts with the Internet, to being in the Internet, to being part of this technology. And so that's the thing that's what Human Fusions is working on, is the technology to make that happen. Where do we push it? How do we extend? What can it do? And that's the case where, in terms of now, we look at this as a multidisciplinary thing, right? And I think one of the challenges of technologies has grown up for technology's sake. Look at Facebook. Not to call out Facebook per se, but it was growing up. It grew up because of technology. It was a cool thing that you could do as a software engineer. It's run away because we didn't start by considering the human aspects of that at the beginning, outside of financial. We didn't consider the ethical constraints that have to come into this, right? So from the Fusions perspective, we're now putting ourselves in the Internet. That is a huge ethical question. It's not, so we shouldn't do it. Every great thing has ethical questions, but we should do it responsibly from the beginning. So that brings in the ethical components. If I'm looking at down the road, what does it mean to interface with art directly on a connection level? I need art. I need people that do art, that work with this stuff, to talk with me. How can I actually transform the human experience now that I have a new way of interacting with it? And so for things like social networks, customer interaction, consumer experience. I mean, thinking now in the case where I could feel what I'm going to wear, or I could work in it in different ways. These are important things, right? And I think it really, actually, we got to start to ask the question more broadly, what is our relationship with technology? We all, in companies, have workers. We have places where I use tools, right? And there's a fear that that tool is going to replace my job. Let's change that transformation. Let's ask, what if that tool is a part of, what if I start to think about the tool in a different relationship, right? How does that change the nature of work? Design of factories, if I don't need to biologically be there, I could actually change the environment so I don't have all this space for humans, right? How much of our factory space is built for the soft, squishy parts of myself, right? How do we train workers? If you can actually feel, if you're watching somebody twist a nut or do something like that, and you could feel the pressure that has to go on there while you're watching them do it, that's a different training, like, oh, too hard, oh, too soft, right? That's how you learn. But now I can feel it happen. The capabilities can change because now I can be the robot. I could be 20 stories high. And I can transform that to my experience of playing with Lego blocks, even though they're 20-ton blocks that are moving in space, right? Field service, if I have to go out and I got to show somebody how to change a nut, for example. Okay, I can actually be there and do it. I can help them work through this directly. And then on the bigger picture is, what's the future of medicine look like, right? So we're using for prosthetics, but already we know in the biomedical area, we've changed things entirely in terms of how we do FES, which you'll hear about today, and working with people with spinal cord injury. The medications can't fix that. But think about Da Vinci and surgery, right? So right now you have this robot, you're over there in this weird world. But if I could actually put you in the body, and now when you're doing, for example, vascular surgery, even though the vessel might be microns in size, I can make it feel like you're suturing a wall, right? That's all transformations. But if I can connect the human that way, I can rethink everything. And then gaming, entertainment, and what other new industries can we do with this? So that's the introduction to it. I'm out of time, so that's the introduction of the idea of human fusions in the broad perspective, and I hope there's a lot of questions we have afterwards. Thank you.